Okay, hello everybody. Today I'll be talking to you about how we build cool stuff. Actually, you know what? Nope, screw it, figure it out. Today I'll be talking to you about how we build production stuff with Node at Uber. So a bit about me, I'm Renos. I've been at Uber for about a year, and we do a shit ton of cool stuff with Node. Now, to warm everybody up, let's have everybody put their hands up. We'll start with some questions. So everyone should indulge. Hands up.
Oh, we're starting?
Yeah, we're starting. Everyone hands up. So whoever's done JavaScript, keep your hand up. Whoever's done Node, keep your hand up. Whoever's run Node in production, keep your hand up. And whoever's woken up at 2 a.m. because shit's on fire, keep your hand up. These are the people that have done Node in production. And I'm sorry, I'm terribly sorry about it. So, a bit of history about me and Uber. I joined about a year ago, came straight into the real-time team. My first task was just build a little proxy. We need a little proxy for statsd. Need to do like a conversion of UDP to TCP. I needed to do a bit of message cleaning, because apparently they didn't like it when a JavaScript client sends undefined to statsd. For some reason that's bad. Don't know why that happened. So I built it in a day, was pretty cool. And then my coworker reviewed it, said it was great. We got it tested in production. You just SSH'd in, git cloned it, ran it, changed the config, restarted one of our production boxes. It's like, yeah, traffic still goes to statsd, looks good to me. And then my coworker, who I refer to as Iron Fist, said, now let's deploy it globally. You just need to productionize it, get it running on about 50 boxes, and just make sure it doesn't go down, because we kind of like statsd. We kind of need that for our operations. So that's how I started going down the route of figuring out how to run Node in production. Now Iron Fist, it's pretty crazy. He just thinks, do it in a couple of days, easy. He once wrote 500 lines of C++. He ran it, never went down, never had to make another commit to it. Worked just great. Now for some of the rest of us, for us mortals, we have to actually figure out, what does it mean to run Node in production? So there's lots of steps to it. And the first step is logging. You want to be able to log warnings and errors and informational stuff. So a common theme for this talk is I'm a modular guy, I'm an open source kind of guy, so everything we do at Uber, well not everything is open source of course, but everything I talk about is open source. You can go use it today. So when you log stuff, you want to log your warnings to disk. If you think something's wrong in production, you just go and grab the logs, see if there's any warnings, anything weird. It helps you figure out what's going on. We also log everything to Kafka. Now Kafka is like a kind of queue system we use in production, and it's really useful right after a deploy. Right after a global deploy, you just grab Kafka, and everything writes to Kafka for any errors. If you see errors, you know you need to roll back. And obviously we write to an error aggregation service with our logger. Now our choice is Sentry. You can pick whatever you want. Sentry is pretty good, and every single thing that goes into Sentry is an email. Every engineer that gets an email about Sentry, that's a bug, you go and fix it. You go and fix it, make it go away, or you turn it into a warning. Everything in Sentry has to be actionable. We used to have this mess where there was just all kinds of errors in Sentry and everybody ignored the emails, and then we had to realize, oh wait, the reason our processes have been crashing in production was because of these errors. Maybe we should have paid attention. Next up, statsd. We monitor everything. We are blind without monitoring in stats at Uber. We write everything to stats, whether that's requests, whether that's 400s, 500s, whether that's the health of a HTTP client, or whether that's business logic stuff. At Uber, we deal with drivers, trips, clients. So we log the number of drivers in a city to statsd. And after a redeploy of a city, if the number of drivers doesn't go back up to what it used to be, you know something is wrong. And I strongly recommend you monitor everything, because flying blind is scary. So as part of running a Node app in production, you might need some different configuration for running it locally and running it in production. You might even need some different configuration on a data center by data center basis. And if you're not running your Node apps in multiple data centers, we just hope AWS doesn't go down, and you'll be cool. AWS never goes down. So we have a configuration loading library. It loads it from plain JSON files, and it allows you to just have a different configuration for your service locally versus production, and also for different data centers. Having different data center support really made migrating apps from one data center to another a lot easier, because you can't just magically spin up your entire production system on a new data center. I wish I could. We would have made things a lot easier. Next up, uncalled exceptions. So some people say you can handle exceptions. I say if you get an uncalled exception, that's it, game over. What does that mean? It means you need something to deal with uncalled exceptions right. The most important thing about an uncalled exception is it has to go out of the process. You want it to go somewhere. So we put it through the logger. It will go to Kafka, we'll go to Sentry. We also log it to a backup file descriptor. And the reason we do that is because for some reason there are bugs in our logger. I don't know why there are bugs in our logger. Maybe it's because I wrote the code. So yeah, it's definitely important that when you get an uncalled exception, you try and get it out in the lowest complexity way. And finally, because you have to shut down an uncalled exception, we try and do a graceful shutdown to not really impact stuff. And then we just abort the process, dump core somewhere, and then we can analyze it later, or we can just delete the core dumps. It really depends on what you want to do with core dumps. Because analyzing core dumps, that's a different story. It's a black art. So next up, control ports. So one of the things we found at Uber with Node in production is sometimes you want to know what's going on. Sometimes you want to take a CPU profile or heap dump because you're like, why is that process at 95% TPU? Why is that process at 1 gig of memory? Now, if you don't have CPU instrumentation, and if you don't have memory instrumentation in your process, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'll add it to my app. I'll restart my app. Bug is gone. You never see it again. Completely gone. So we have a control port module. And every single Node service gets a control port by default. It listens on localhost, on an internal port. Anytime you think anything might be wrong, CPU-wise and memory-wise, SSH into the box, curl the control port, you get a heap dump. From day one, you can always take a heap dump. And if you don't have it from day one, you're going to restart the process, that bug's going to be gone, and you're going to be like, oh, why? What caused it? So we have other stuff we do with control ports. We put other stuff in it, not quite open source yet. We put stuff like repos in it. We put stuff like being able to monitor health in it. We put stuff like being able to monitor the status of the clustering system in it. Having one of these guys is just so useful. PagerDuty in Nagios. Another important part about running Node in production is ownership. If something goes wrong at 2 a.m., you have to wake up. If your stuff goes down and affects the business, we need to make sure you get woken up. So we have Nagios, we have health checks, whether those are simple health checks by just hitting the server and seeing when it returns 200, or whether they're complicated business-specific health checks, whatever. We have Nagios integration with StatsD. We have a lot of StatsD graphs. We have a lot of StatsD metrics. And we can actually say, you know what? If the delta with the drivers, drops quickly, we need to get a Nagios alert. We have wired up the PagerDuty. And then people wake up, and it gets fixed within 10 minutes. And if it doesn't get fixed within 10 minutes, you wake up the manager and the manager's manager. And if it's still not fixed and we're still down, you just wake up everybody. Because a company of Uber's scale cannot have a global outage for that long. Also, people are not going to be happy. People are really not going to be happy. Those are my tips for productionizing. So running Node in production, there's two parts to it. There's like needing all these libraries and all these things that you have to think about to really have confidence to be able to sleep at night. Well, hopefully you get to sleep at night. Just don't write broken code. That's how you get to sleep at night. The next step is getting started quickly. So we have this pipe dream at Uber, which is an engineer can be hired. It can come in on the first day, write some kick-ass code, deploy it in production, and have it out there in one day. Yeah, that's kind of hard. There's a lot necessary to get something in production. And we've written a tool called Potter to make it easier, to automate the annoying stuff away. It's built around workflows. Well, probably not the slide, probably down. Oh no, the slide. Yes, workflows. So when you want to build a new service or a new app, you have the local workflow. You want to get all your files, create a Git repository, install your dependencies, make sure you can run npm tests. Once you can write code, run tests, and commit, that's great. You're ready to get started. You press a couple of buttons, and you can go away and do stuff. Now, eventually, everyone's going to have to work with teammates, work with other people, introduces lots of complexity. So we have a shared workflow. The shared workflow is about pushing your app up to a GitLab repository or to a GitHub repository. We use GitLab internally because who wants to pay GitHub money? No, who wants to be down when GitHub is down? That's the real problem. And we push up to CI, whether it's Jenkins or Travis. And we set up all the tools related to doing code review. And this is important. When you want to work with other people, you've got to be able to do code review. You can do it with GitHub pull request. We use Arcanist internally in Fabricator, which is just kind of special. It's not that bad. It works. You can make it work for you. And it's really important that when you do code review, that it triggers a build. Actually, it's more important that only one person in the company configures Jenkins, because nobody else should ever have the pain of configuring Jenkins. You should automate that, definitely. And then we have other workflows. So next up, once you've done code review, once you've been able to work with your people, once you've been able to have more people on team work on it, you want to get it on a place where you can really do staging. So we do staging on EC2. So what does it take to get your app under staging? All of the services at Uber are checked into Puppet. Puppet is used to have one snapshot of EC2. So you have an EC2 and all of the services ever on it. So Puppet is a special beast. And again, you don't want your developers to have to know how it works. They just want to be okay, I want to put my app in the Puppet thing. I want it to be EC2. 15 minutes later, just click, 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 and have it work. And the other thing, the Puppet, and deploying to EC2. So you just need to figure out how to get it onto your staging server. We have a custom deployment tool where we can deploy specific versions of your application, specific Git shards to your own EC2, and that's trying to mimic the exact same way we deploy in production. And really, staging should be as close to production as possible. If it's not, you won't be able to find the production bugs you want to find. So once you get to production, there's a couple of other annoying things you've got to deal with. You've got to deal with setting up Sentry. You've got to deal with setting up Graphite. You've got to deal with actually deploying the beast to production. Setting up DNS. Setting up an Nginx thing. Setting up a HA proxy thing. so much stuff I don't want to care about. I just want to put it into a tool and have it go away. So we've tried to automate and streamline as much of that way. And it's worked great for us. Nope, no more. Okay, so Potter, as it is right now, is open source. It's an empty thing. It has like a modular help page, and everything is installed as plugins from NPM. This has been designed so that within a large company, you want teams to have their own workflows, you want teams to have their own opinions. You don't want to globally synchronize on like how you should build shit. You really want to give a team the power to be able to make their own local decisions. So every team has their own plugins, every team decides their own workflow, every team makes it work for them. That's that. Okay, I'm supposed to do a demo. Okay, let's see if I can get a shell. How am I? Okay, that's a shell. Do you think I can? Oh, why can't I mirror my desktops to make it a lot easier to see what I'm typing? I can't mirror my. Can't because it's not a Mac. That's why I can't mirror my. Oh man, jokers. Okay. Now I'm pretty sure I can do this. Pretty sure I can do this. So Potter, command line tool. You create a new app. You hit enter. It blows up terribly. Okay. Alias Potter to be, or alias Potter equals Play-Doh. So at some point in the past it was called Play-Doh, and we renamed it. Ah, there we go. Now it works. So Potter create. Okay, so we need a name for our app. Every app needs a good name. Our name is like cool app 111. It's a pretty cool name. Oh, that was a type. Oh shit. So because it's a modular tool and because people can do their own plugins, you want people to be like, I want my own create command for my team. So like we've got the Uber internal stuff. I don't know what it does right now, but we've got a GitHub one as well, where we can build a new GitHub module. So pick GitHub, cool app 111. It's a great name. Cool app 111. Great. So the Potter command goes up and does all kinds of stuff, like creating a GitHub thing, like setting other stuff up. And I think right now it's asking for coveralls. So at some point you're going to run into a thing you can't automate. And you do the next best thing, which is you tell the engineer, hey, sorry, please go over here and do these annoying manual steps, maybe link to a wiki page. So setting up coveralls is a pain in the ass. I'm not going to set it up. I'm just going to press yes and claim I set it up. The machine doesn't know any better. And then it's eventually going to finish. And it will have created some artifacts. So it will have created the code, the Git repository, the GitHub repository, a Travis CI build. Apparently coveralls, if I did coveralls. And if I go into cool app, cool, how do I cd? Yeah. So the nice thing about this tool is you just cd into your thing and you run npm test and it just works like it should. Like whenever you create an app, you should be able to get started right away. You check out a new branch. You edit the index. No, I'm not going to actually write code, not at this angle. But to prove a point, go back to the edit this on full screen that. GitHub.com. Oh god. Okay, let's. GitHub.com, Reynolds. Go to my repositories. Cool app 111. So, you know, there's a thing here and it claims there's a thing here and somewhere it says cool app 111. Somewhere, I promise it didn't lie. You can check out Reynolds on the internet, and it will have created the thing. Let's actually go back to the slides. How do I go back? I can figure this out. I can do this. Pretty sure I can do this. Oh, whatever. Let me figure out what my last slide was. My last slide said thanks. See, it says thanks. Pin. It also says that, you know, we do cool shit. If you want to know at scale, you just come talk to me. So I have about 10 minutes left for questions about doing Node in production. So if anyone has any questions, they should put their hands up. This guy is first, because I'm going left to right.
How do you deal with so is every module its own repo? Is that right?
So the question is, every module's own repo? The answer is yes. Great question.
Follow-up question. How do you deal with cascading dependencies? So if I roll out an update to a module, and I want that change to propagate to all of the other components that are using that module, how do you deal with that?
So if you've got lots of modules, how do you update the upstream stuff? And you do it the only way you can. You update the upstream stuff by hand. You go and find everyone that's upstream and you update it. The other option of magically updating it or making it easier involves dependency hell. As an application developer who's using a module, I do not want stuff to change under my feet. Because if it does, I have to wake up at 2 a.m. and fix it. Next question.
What happens if the scaffolding changes over time? Is there some way that people who created apps in the past can go back and apply additional things?
So scaffolding is ultimate. So the question is, what if I created an app 3 months ago and scaffolding changed? How do I update? And the answer is that scaffolding is automated copy and paste. And as it being automated in the copy and paste, it's copy and paste, and copy and paste is a terrible idea. So the best thing you can do is to do the minimal amount of scaffolding possible and to just, put 20 modules in the package.json by default. And upgrading is a pain. So I did do a couple of little nice tricks, like having a way to automatically update JSON files, because you can merge it in quite cleanly. I had a crazy idea of having the templates be AST trees of JavaScript, and then having them be append only, like get, and crazy stuff. But I was I don't care enough. That's silly. I don't have a good answer for that. The best answer I have is try not to copy paste so much stuff, and it's going to suck. It is going to suck.
How do you roll out an update across 50 servers?
How do you roll out an update across 50 servers? You press a button that says update 50 servers, and boop.
Do they all go down at the same time?
So we have a custom deployment system at Uber called udeploy, and it does a rolling upgrade. And check them with health checks, so we'll do update 1, check health, update 2, check health, yada, 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 yada. Now as a developer, you're supposed to monitor graphics, monitor staticity, see if anything goes wrong, panic if something goes wrong, press the rollback button, come on, rollback, rollback, rollback.
Oh, is there anything specific to know in that regard, in terms of waiting for all the event loop to finish, maybe something to finish operations, or you just basically?
So when we restart, we send a SIG term, and the process is supposed to clean the event loop cleanly. If it doesn't clean the event loop cleanly, we give it a 15-second timeout. We send a SIG kill.
Can you just talk about the instances on EC2 you use?
Instances on EC2 I use.
Yeah, just how many cores, what size
Whatever you want. The default one is something not very expensive, but you go and be oh, I want an EC2, and you say how many, whatever you want. Now one day Uber is going to say you engineer, you have 50 really huge instances. That's costing a lot of money. What are you doing?
So how do you run one node instance, or do you run several on one?
On EC2, I believe a lot of instances, a lot of stuff runs on EC2. It mostly works. It's a little bit slower. I try to not have to do too much with EC2 because most of the time it's a bit painful. It's a bit of a tragedy of the commons.
Thoughts on Docker?
Thoughts on Docker? I'm not part of the infrastructure team. We have 30 people at Uber that care about hardware and care about the new data center we have. I have no opinion on that really. I just want to click a button and have my app be deployed. Whatever's best. I'll trust the other smart people.
I've been actually talking about infrastructure with people there. At the moment right now, Docker and other infrastructure automation things are interesting, but boot to Docker still is a long ways away, and too many engineers in the company are OS X based. So those are the things that we're looking at. but that's about the extent of it at the moment.
Any other questions about making stuff not fall over with Node?
Do you have any new interesting plans for Node at the company?
More specific about interesting plans for Node?
So you're doing just proxying right now, right? You've described, or is it?
Oh, no, sorry. The thing I built for one day was a Node proxy. What we do with Node at Uber is everything runs through Node, all of it. Everything from the entire mobile connection to pressing the buttons on the phone and seeing stuff, to the start of the trip, to dispatching, to the end of the trip. And when it's down, we make no money, so it can't go down.
Everything real time, even from calculating and optimizing.
We do use a mix of many languages, actually.
Oh, yes, there's stuff that happens after the end of the trip. There's lots of really complicated stuff that happens after the end of the trip, whether that's finance, analysis, science, data, the portals for the riders and drivers. I don't know how much stuff we have. We have too much stuff for me to be able to know about. But I'd say we're about 50 Node, 50% Python.
Do you think the choice to go with Node is working, or would you say like having to do it again, something else would have been better?
No, I'm only supposed to say happy things about Node. That's why I'm here. And with that being said, thank you guys.